The Nationals have lost two straight games in this Toronto series for back-to-back series now. They have lost two of the first games, and it's been slow starts, but overall, Trevor Williams, he did look solid for the Washington Nationals, and more than just that, Keibert Ruiz, stay hot.
You are Locked On Nationals, your daily Washington Nationals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, I'm your host, Ryan Clary. You can catch me over on Twitter at BrianClary11 and as well as our show page at LO_Nationals. For all your latest Nationals news and notes, make sure to check us out over on Twitter. And of course, look up Locked On Nationals wherever you get your podcasts, whether it's on Apple, Spotify, and of course, the video version over on YouTube. Just look up Locked On Nationals and hit that subscriber button. Later on in today's show, we'll be looking at Game 3. That is a 3:07 first pitch in Toronto today. You've got Mackenzie Gore on the bump against quite literally a nobody for the Toronto Blue Jays. You've got your ace on the bump. You've got someone who is not really supposed to be pitching. I believe this was supposed to be Max Scherzer's start, but he is now out, and we're going to be getting some backup kind of bullpen kind of guy who doesn't really belong in this rotation. You better win this game. We'll preview for you that a little bit later on in the show today. In the second segment, we need to talk about Keibert Ruiz. It's only been 5 games, but he has looked like a completely different player. And we'll kind of discuss really what looks different and what looks better, and can he continue this throughout the 2025 season. I'm starting to change my mind on the future of Keibert Ruiz. But we start off discussing last night's loss as the Nationals put up a good fight, but still came down to not really all that great things. So the highlights of yesterday's game, first and foremost, we cannot start talking about yesterday's game without discussing CJ Abrams. While he did have that error early on in the game, it was a pretty poor error thrown over to Nathaniel Lowe. It just was everything that you worry about with CJ Abrams. He simply cannot make the routine play at times. And I even saw some people saying CJ Abrams is just not a shortstop. Let's all settle down at this point. It's game number 5 of the year. It's still early on. And then later on in that game, CJ made one of the most incredible plays in his career. A ball hit up the middle. He lays out for it, is laying there on his chest, gets up, turns around, does a 180, and throws a runner out over at first base. What an unbelievable play by CJ there. Number one, just having that capabilities from the shortstop position where he can cover that ground, where he can get up and make a dart of a throw over to first base. That is an incredible play that kind of just sums up CJ Abrams at shortstop. One thing that we have seen from him over the years is that he struggles with the routine play for whatever reason out there. I don't know if he gets too lost in his mechanics or if he thinks too much before he throws. I don't really know. But then you give him an opportunity to make a play like he did last night, where the ball is scorched up the middle. He lays out for it. He then gets up and throws a dart over to first base and to get the runner out. Unbelievable play by CJ defensively. It is frustrating to watch that because, again, you look at that play, and I saw the Locked On Mariners host. He was at that game yesterday in Toronto, and he tweeted at me just kind of calling that play yeah, that was unbelievable. If you are watching CJ just last night, you're thinking that, oh my God, this guy is a Gold Glove defender. Now, we know here in DC that he is not, but he has the ability to make plays like that. And when your shortstop does have that ability to cover that ground, getting up the middle, laying out for it, and then making that dart of a throw over to first base, you feel pretty good about your chances with your defensive shortstop there. So I wanted to talk about that because that was an unbelievable play by CJ. And then let's get into what he did offensively, because yesterday was really about CJ Abrams. There were some other good things about yesterday's game that we'll get into later on in the segment, but allow me to preach about my shortstop here. 3 of 4. He added 2 doubles yet again. And CJ Abrams, his line for the season, he's batting .286 and now with an .842 OPS. Ladies and gentlemen, he is doing it again. He is starting off the season hot and very hot, I might add, yet again. You saw in one of his singles from yesterday's ball game, it was one of the top exit velocities in that game, just behind Vlad Guerrero Jr. 111 miles per hour off the bat, and that was just a single, by the way. But looking at what Abrams does, and kind of looking at all the different analytics surrounding CJ, he has got the ability to, number one, hit for power, and number two, get on base at a frequent rate by putting the ball in play. CJ is just, at times, an unbelievable player. Yesterday, I think that was kind of just like the perfect example of what CJ could be. Number one, the defensive setback where it's just a routine play, and he simply cannot get that done. He's going to have to get over that hump at some point. But then you get the highlight play up the middle. He lays out for it, throws over to first base. That's another CJ thing that we have seen over the years. And then at the plate, he's hitting multiple doubles. He's hitting balls 111 miles per hour off the bat. And he displays his power. He displays what he can do on the base pass as well. That was just such a CJ Abrams game. And again, another stolen base in there. CJ had himself a game yesterday. And yeah, you could talk about the error that he made early on, and that's whatever. But CJ, unbelievable performance for the Nationals yesterday. That was awesome to see. Now let's talk about Trevor Williams here, because I thought Trevor Williams looked pretty good in his first start with the Nationals here in 2025. Now, he did give up 10 hits over 5 innings pitched. And again, talking about CJ, this was your prototypical Trevor Williams game, where it's like, yeah, this guy's getting hit pretty hard. 10 hits in 5 innings, that's relatively routine for Trevor here. But then he only strikes out 3 batters. He walks none, gives up 3 earned runs. Overall, a quality start, in my opinion. He kept the guys in this game. And the Blue Jays, they have got a lot of talent on their team, especially offensive, high offensive power kind of talent. You mentioned Vlad Jr., George Springer, Alejandro Kirk, Andres Jimenez, that you've seen now a couple different times here in DC, and he has killed us at points. They have got a lot of offensive firepower. Bo Bichette, Will Wagner. They have got guys here in Toronto that can do pretty well. But Trevor Williams held it together, went 5 innings, went 5 strong innings, did get hit around a little bit, but ultimately, the damage was not really done by that much. Only those 10 hits in 5 innings. Well, 10 hits is a lot in 5 innings, I will say. But that was like your just typical Trevor Williams start. He's going to get hit around, and that's that. You all know this. We understand this at this point. So seeing Trevor Williams kind of come over that adversity there, that was a big deal in my opinion. Last but not least, or it's really not last, but you know, you get the point. As the game went on, you start to notice someone. And this is someone that we have noticed now for each of the past 2 seasons. Someone who gets called up or gets brought down. It's called up and gets sent back down. Alex Call. If you were not a baseball fan and you were to watch Alex Call, you would think that Alex Call is like the LeBron James of Major League Baseball. He is at times just an unbelievable player and one of the toughest outs on this Nationals team. When I think of tough outs, I think of Keibert Ruiz and the hot start that he has been on. I think about CJ Abrams and the way that he doesn't really strike out too much. Alex Call is probably the toughest out the Nationals have. He has his nose in the box. He is always looking to swing the bat, and he puts the ball in play, and he always runs as hard as he can over to first base. And what we saw in yesterday's game was just, again, a very typical Alex Call start. 2 for 3 at the plate. He had a walk mixed in there and just did damage offensively. Ran just so hard over to first base every single time. It does not matter how out he's going to be. This guy is going to bring out his max effort. If you were to come out of that game yesterday and think to yourself, like, man, Alex Call just got 2 hits and 2 nice hits, by the way. It's not just that we're just going to forget about what he did there. Alex Call is a good ball player. And I think we kind of forget at times that, like, he is one of those guys who just energizes this team in a way that not many people do. And when he comes into the game, you know you're going to be getting 100% of your max effort. You know he's going to lay out for that ball in right field or in center field and try to avoid extra base hits. That is the kind of heart and hustle that this guy brings. It is a treat to watch Alex Call at this point. An absolute treat. So I think I'd be remiss if I did not talk about Alex Call for a few minutes because, again, similar to CJ Abrams last year, similar to guys who have gotten in fast starts in years past, Alex Call seems to be off to a hot, fast start here. And I think that we have kind of seen that now, dating back to 2023 when what he did in Colorado, if you remember those days, we were all talking about, man, Alex Call should be in this lineup every single day. Now, in this instance, you've got Jacob Young in center. You've got Dylan Cruz, who had a scheduled off day yesterday. And then you've got James Wood in left field as well. But, we didn't mention this segment because he deserves his own at this point. Is star catcher Keibert Ruiz. Keibert has been off to an awesome start this season. He has been hitting the ball well. He's been hitting the ball solid, putting the ball in play. He's been drawing some walks. He looks like a completely different animal in 2025, and we got to talk about him because Keibert Ruiz, take a bow, you might be back. We'll discuss that after we tell you about our friends over at Wonderful Pistachios. And are you looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. The Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts, and each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats that help keep you feeling fuller longer. Personally, I love the no shells variety. It's a perfect grab and go snack for busy days, whether I'm snacking at my desk on a road trip or just need a quick protein boost. They're always my go-to. And if you love cracking open every shell for that satisfying crunch, the end shell options are a classic favorite. And then how these little green wonders are just pack a protein punch. They make you feel healthier. And I just feel good because it gives you that energy. And pistachios are the snack that works as hard as you do. So get snacking and get cracking with a snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. Thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, check us out over on YouTube at Locked On Nationals and wherever you get your podcast. We're talking about Keibert Ruiz now. And I think I'm going to say it. Keibert Ruiz might be all the way back. Dating back to last season in his age 25 year, this was that year in 2024 was kind of the year for Keibert to step it up. It was the year that we all expected him to be a big contributor for this Nationals team. That was not the case. Early on in the year, he got really sick. I believe he lost nearly like 20 pounds, if I remember correctly. And it wasn't like good weight that he lost. He lost it because he was sick and had the flu. So now dating back a year ahead, Keibert Ruiz, through his first 5 games, has been unbelievable so far. And not just offensively, but also defensively. You have seen him throw out a couple of different guys now over the first few games here. And that was something that Keibert Ruiz has struggled with tremendously throughout his career. You look at his pop time from last year, it ranks in the 3rd percentile. His framing was in the 42nd percentile. His sprint, or not his sprint speed, his blocks above average, 20th percentile. Keibert Ruiz was, I'll say it, I mean, it might be rough, but he was bad defensively. I mean, this just is what it is. So far this season, you have seen him block a couple different pitches that were, whether it be on opening day with Mackenzie Gord, the couple sliders in the dirt there, whether it be last night with Trevor Williams on the bump. You saw him do that a handful of times also. Keibert Ruiz, number one, looks athletic and looks in shape. And number two, the results are now showing out on paper as well. Keibert Ruiz just looks like a different player. He looks like the top prospect in the Dodgers system that the Nationals traded for back in 2021. And this is a big thing for the Nats moving forward, guys. Having Keibert Ruiz, number one, be productive offensively, and number two, being that team leader / lead by example kind of guy by doing everything right, is what the Nationals needed from their catcher who's been with us since 2021 now. Don't get it mistaken. This is one of your team leaders. And with a team leader, like we can talk about Alex Call and kind of have him be a glue guy in the clubhouse and how David Martinez loves him. And why wouldn't you? He's one of those guys who hustles and leads. But when you have an everyday player like Keibert Ruiz, who has already been rewarded with an extension all the way through 2030, someone who has the potential to be a 20-plus home run guy every single season, someone who has the potential to be your franchise backstop behind the dish there. Having Keibert Ruiz now show in and show out every single day the way that he has for the first part of the season, it's big for the Nationals. Because one thing that we have complained about over the years, and one thing that I have talked a lot about on this show, was if you are going to be a power hitter, you better show your power. If you are going to be a contact hitter, you better put the ball in play. Now, Keibert Ruiz, really no one in baseball is better than Keibert Ruiz than putting the ball in play. But also, he had a lot of weak contact. He was not barreling up the baseball, and I think that has been proven over the years because last year his barrel percentage was in the 6th percentile. His hard hit percentage was in the 4th percentile. Meanwhile, his whiff percentage was in the 99th percentile, and his strikeout percentage was in the 98th percentile. And then his walk percentage was in the 2nd percentile. So seeing Keibert Ruiz now, number one, improving on these categories, because if you look at some of these percentages right now, his barrel percentage is up to a 6.3%, nearly doubled from last year. He's already barreled up one baseball compared to his 13 last year. And if you look at all these different numbers, you're starting to see that Keibert Ruiz, it might have just finally clicked for him. And this is the version of Keibert Ruiz that you wanted to see and that I wanted to see. Now, I think the big question here is, can he continue this? Can Keibert Ruiz continue to be your franchise backstop here? Because we have a good sample size of what he is. And what he is around like a 700 OPS, not good defensively. And that is just what he has proven since 2021. But you've also seen a lot of inconsistencies there. The consistent part of Keibert Ruiz, like when he is good, he's great. He puts the ball in play. He hits for a little bit of power. He has some big hits. He has some big moments. But right now, I think where we stand with Keibert is the inconsistencies have shown throughout his career. I don't know what it is with right now with where we stand. I think it was just David Martinez and Mike Rizzo pumping his tires up every opportunity that they could this spring training, talking about how Ruiz is a different player now. I'm starting to believe in it. In seeing this fast start on paper, I don't think it's just a fluke. I think that you have now finally seen what we expect from Keibert Ruiz. Now, I'm not expecting a 400 batting average from him. No one is at this point. But what I do expect is someone to hit for a little bit of power from both sides of the plate. someone who can throw runners out, which we have seen him do multiple times over in the first 2 series here and against Philly and now in Toronto. Keibert Ruiz, the prospect that we all thought we were getting back when you traded away Trey Turner and Max Scherzer, being that stud all-star caliber catcher, he might arrive in 2025. And I'm starting to buy into that. Just from what we have seen on paper, the guy has the skills to finally put things together and put his struggles behind him. But the one thing that we are going to have to say and have to continue to talk about all season long with Keibert Ruiz is have him stay consistent. Because if he can stay consistent and if he can continue to put up numbers like this, we've got him. Your potential all-star catcher, your stud, your leader, Keibert Ruiz. So that's awesome to see. And really, we have to highlight him and what he has done through his first 5 games. Again, a couple home runs, 5 RBIs, big hit after big hit. He's got a 9-game hit streak dating back to last season now also. So Keibert Ruiz, stay hot. Next, let's talk about this. 307 game today, Mackenzie Gore on the bump. We'll preview that game after we tell you about our friends over at Monarch Money. And of course, ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center, and you can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. When I started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on food delivery, and now I budget smarter and save more. And instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch Money to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Like if you've got a budget that you want to save to have a trip to Europe, you can do that with our friends at Monarch Money. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money and use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. Now we get back into it with the Washington Nationals taking on the Toronto Blue Jays today. You've got Mackenzie Gore, your ace of the staff, on the bump, going up against someone that, let's be honest, you probably haven't heard of. Easton Lucas, the 28-year-old who bounced around 3 different teams this past season with, I believe he started out with Oakland, then went to Detroit, and then wound it up in Toronto. So I expect an opener situation with the Blue Jays. I think they're probably just going to go all in, having that bullpen game because they are off tomorrow. The Washington Nationals are also off tomorrow. And this is going to be an all-out game. And if you're the Nationals, I'm not going to say it, but I will. It's a must-win game in game 6. You heard me say it. You don't want to start off the year 1-5. It's not a good look. It's not something that you want to see. It's not something that I want to see. A 1-5 start would be pretty discouraging after seeing some guys start off pretty hot. But the way that the Nationals have blown games over these first few is their bullpen. I urge Davey Martinez right here and right now, Jorge Lopez, you got to have him pitching in high leverage situations. I'm tired of seeing Colin Poche. I'm really tired of that. I can tell you that right now. Jose Ferrer, I think he is going to be the stud of this bullpen. He's going to be your closer eventually. Having him go 2 innings pitched, it ain't working, and it should not work. That's not the way that you should be using Ferrer. He should be a 1-inning guy, your Hunter Harvey per se. Have him close, and if you have to have him go 1 1/3 inning, have him go 1 1/3. But having that plan be 2 innings pitched, no more. That's a thing of the past for Davey Martinez. At least that's what I hope at this point. But with where the Nationals stand today, you've got your ace on the bump. You've got your guy who just struck out 13 batters, walked none, against a loaded offensive team with the Philadelphia Phillies. Now, I think the Blue Jays are a pretty similar squad here. but Mackenzie Gore should do just fine. And it's not loaded with the way that the Phillies are with left-handed hitters. So maybe this calls for a little bit of a tougher matchup. Like I look at Vladdy Jr. and kind of what he has done. That's the matchup that scares me a little bit. That lefty-righty matchup going up against also Bo Bichette. He was 0 for 2 against him. Vladdy Jr. has had a ton of success in just 5 at-bats. He's got a home run. I believe he had a grand slam against Mackenzie Gore, if I remember it correctly. But he has killed Mackenzie, so please stay away from that. But knowing how Gore pitches, he's going to go right at him. So this will be one of those fun games, though. A 3:07 first pitch. You got to love it. Some day baseball here on a Wednesday afternoon. And it'll be up in Toronto, so it'll be in the Rogers Center, under the dome, I believe. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's a nice day in Toronto. It's 60 degrees and it's sunny. Maybe they have the dome open, but I doubt it at this point. You're in Canada. It's April 2nd. You kind of know how it goes. But this will be a fun game nonetheless. And again, you've got Mackenzie Gore going up against, I don't want to say it, he's a major league pitcher, but someone I have never heard of. Let's take advantage of this. These are games that if you're big leaguers, you got to take advantage of and you got to win. You've got your ace on the mound. They've got someone who's just expected to eat up a few innings, and they're basically waving the white flag. This offense better get off to a quick start. I expect runs in the first inning. I expect CJ Abrams to get on base right away. Dylan Cruz coming off from his off day. Please get a hit, man. We are all counting on you. This is going to be game number 5 for him on the season. And Dylan Cruz, my eyes will be on him as well as it'll be on Davey Martinez and the way that they utilize this bullpen after Mackenzie Gore gets done for the day. But thank you all for making Locked On Nats your first listen. I will catch you guys on the flip side. Have a good one. Go Nats.